Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua Shem Kakodash. Giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushua Shem Kakodash. Hope you can hear me. Sometimes this program acts up and you can hardly hear me. I'm breaking up, but I did a test and I counted from 1 to 10 like 4 times, and I counted from 1 to 30 one time, then I counted from 20 to 1 time. So that was, I don't know, a minute and a half. It took me, something like that. I mean, I did delete that video, but it came out crystal clear. But sometimes when I go to actually do a video, you hardly hear me, or it's muffled, or it's the sound is breaking up, or you can't hear me at all. So that's not on my end. That's on their end of this program. Anyway, this is a video that what I'm gonna I don't know if I gave it the title. Anyway, the title is Cornelius was not of the Northern Kingdom. Say it again. Cornelius was not of the Northern Kingdom. So you're gonna listen to these brothers from Sons of Thunder, Israelites, San Francisco, and you have a lot of different Israelites. See all these other camps that got propped up, sprung up. There were guys that watched the former One Westers like the GMS, the IUIC, the ISUPK. And you have the HOI, and you have the HODC, you have the LOI, and there's many groups that came out of One West. So a lot of these newer groups that you see, they patted themselves after either GMS, ISUPK, IUIC, and they pretty much watched the videos and kind of learned, maybe asked questions, and then they just went out on their own, and they kind of take something from maybe GMS, something else from IUIC, and something else from HODC or whatever. So a lot of them go off. They basically have the message is correct, but they go off on certain things. But anyway, in this video, this is this guy talking to Vocab. You got to watch the video. Actually, go to Vocab alone. His recent video introducing the Sons of Thunder, One West Camp. So you see right here, all right, you see the closed caption, Northern tribes, they were considered Gentiles. Well, the Northern tribes, the ones that the Apostle Paul spoke about being grafted back in, was not talking about the Northern Kingdom. The Northern Kingdom, they, got in ships going back 722, about 720, 722, 726 BCE. And they came over, they left the so-called Middle East, the Levant, and so it is said that they went to the Americas, which we teach that, according to the Apocrypha. You go to 2 Kings 17, you read through that, and then you immediately go to 2 Esdras 13 to verse 40. And that would have to be America. And then the Americas, the Western Hemisphere, the uttermost West. And there's a handful of scriptures that speak about the uttermost part of the earth in Acts and in other precepts in the Old Testament. And that's clearly talking about the Western Hemisphere, Canada, the United States, Central America, South America, where you had the tribes that were scattered throughout the Western Hemisphere. When Christopher Columbus came over here, he made sure he brought with him an individual by the name of the Torres, Bun Levy, and this individual was supposedly fluent in the languages of the Levant. When I say the Levant, I'm talking about the Middle East. I'm talking about languages like Hebrew, uh, um, Hebrew, Arabic, which pretty much is Hebrew, um, uh, Chaldaic, and those languages of that era. Remember, the Canaanites spoke Hebrew. So, why did Christopher Columbus bring him over to the Americas? Because Christopher Columbus had to know that they spoke um, the language of the people of the Levant. So these guys are saying, they're kind of speaking on, I believe the Edomite brings out Cornelius, or they bring out Cornelius, and they quote Romans the 11th chapter, and they say it's a northern kingdom. It's not the northern kingdom. There's no record of any of the northern kingdom coming back to the Levant. You got to go into the history of the Maccabees, Antiochus, and I went through that in one of my last videos. I did it yesterday. I did about 3 or 4 videos. So you got to get out of that. That's not talking about the northern kingdom. It's not, when Paul spoke about being grafted in, it's not talking about the northern kingdom. Now, ultimately, it's talking about the northern kingdom, but it was talking about the Israelites that so-called lost their nationality. Cornelius was one of them. Cornelius came to the realization that he was the descendant of an Israelite, but his parents and his parents' parents got caught up with that whole thing with Antiochus Epiphanes not calling themselves Jews, or not keeping the high holy days. And I went through that in a video yesterday. The main scripture that I went, there's a lineup of scripture, about 4 or 5 scriptures you go through in the Maccabees, first and second. But the main scripture that I hit on was Second Maccabees 6, verse 6 and 9. Really, I started from the first verse. So these Gentiles in the New Testament are not of the northern kingdom. They were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that got caught up in that mess with Antiochus, going back to First Maccabees and Second Maccabees. So you got to get it right. So let's listen. Let's listen. I hope you can hear it. The Jews didn't want to deal with you. The Jews didn't want to have no dealings with you. Because so the northern kingdom were being considered Gentiles, because the northern kingdom wasn't nowhere to be found. They went to the other side of the world. It's not talking about the northern kingdom. And a lot of you different camps do that. It has nothing to do with the northern kingdom. It was talking about the southern kingdom that got caught up in the whole thing during the time of the Maccabees, where they forced them, which means forced conversion. They didn't just say don't believe that you're an Israelite, don't teach you're Israelite. You got to follow the so-called religion of the Greeks, which is to be Hellenized. They were Hellenized. Some were Hellenized, but that knew that they were Israelites. The Jews of Alexandria, Egypt, they were considered kind of like Greek-ized Jews, meaning they kept the law, statutes, and commandments, but they followed a lot of them spoke Greek. But that has nothing to do with the northern kingdom. There's no record of any member of the northern kingdom coming back to Israel. And they're saying, oh, you guys are from the northern kingdom that came from America. You got to get your stuff together.
Yeah, you guys see that. So this is just a quick example. I'm just going to let vocab have his take on this real quick. So vocab, you know from experience, that's typical, where they're basically trying to say that those from the northern tribe, the 10 lost tribes, etc.
No record of the 10 lost tribes, any of the 10 lost tribes coming back to Israel. So the sons of thunder were clearly off because they didn't come up under GMS.
That they're not from the southern kingdom, and they try to put this division into the text as far as what we know as Gentiles. you don't have to give a huge long response, but just on off the cuff, I mean, what do you think about that? What would you say? Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Scripture uses those interchangeably by the time you get to the first century, when the New Testament is written. And the reason is a couple of reasons, really. One is, the Romans themselves, they referred to that entire country as Judea. So anybody who lived there, basically, who were part of Europe, Judeans, and the word Jew is basically the rock. And a lot of the other tribes were sort of misplaced. Not everybody, and you still see again tribes mentioned in the New Testament. But
Yeah, because in Chronicles, I'm not going to go to it. I believe it's Second Chronicles 30. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go to it. I'm not going to waste, go into it. Somebody can put up on the description, comment section. Some of them went back with Judah. The rest of them left and ultimately came to the Americas.
lost track of it, with kind of the exception of Levi and those in the south. And really that includes Benjamin. That includes Benjamin.
What did Jeroboam do to the Levites? He kicked them out. He said he made priests of the lower of the people. I'm merely paraphrasing. So he said, we don't need the Levites. The Levites, you can get back with Judah, and that's exactly what they did. Because remember, the Levites were scattered throughout all the tribes.
And now they would say those are southern, but by that time they were basically used interchangeably, And the reason they try to do that is because then they try to find places where it's only referring to south, only referring to north. But when the Bible speaks about it, you see it interchangeably. Herod is the king of the Jews, but Jesus is crucified. He's called the king of the Jews, and we do see that there are some people from other tribes still around during that time, specifically Anna, for example. Anna was. So they say that. I don't usually spend too much time arguing with you. That's a point they make. That was tons of it's not that strong of a point.
And so don't and act like this is the future promise. I understand this is all still people who nation 86
They just disappeared in the desert. They just kept walking. Millions of them kept walking. They just started disappearing. You people, you wish that the Edomites were done away with. So therefore, you can say, well, we're not the Edomites, because they know that they know that Esau is the worst of the heathen, and they're going into slavery, and they're going to be destroyed. The 18th verse of Obadiah, and you can watch the video that the elder Yashawamba did on this, and I said a few words on it. But anyway, they hoping like hell that the Edomites are done away with, so they can say, that means we're not Edomites. We're one of the other nations, and we have because they know Esau is not going to make it. Not one Edomite is going to make it, and they're ultimately going to be destroyed.
take this path in the future. Sure how.
Yeah, you don't see any more at a certain point in history, really anybody from the house of Edom mentioned as a distinct people at a certain point in history. You have Herod mentioned. India, that's how the New Testament refers to India. It's Herod. In fact, Agrippa's related to him. It's important for people to understand that in Acts, Paul before Agrippa, it says that he wishes he would be a Christian except for the chains. He says, I wish he would be just like me except for his chains, which is not something that a Hebrew Israelite would say that someone that God was Edomite. So it shows that they're God's children. So this is already fulfilled. But even if it wasn't already fulfilled, because when they got to Petra and they put the rock cliffs found that it was like a goose town that actually represented.
So obviously they left. They scattered. So they went northbound. They went up. They came out of. You go back to the history of Philip of Macedonia. They were Edomites. They were Edomites. The Romans are the descendants of the Edomites, according to certain Jewish scholars, historians. So, we agree with some of them so-called Jewish scholars and historians.
Because it didn't happen, but they wanted to say it didn't happen. Well, let's just say it didn't happen. That does not in any way prove that modern day people, some Europeans, are actually Edomites.
Okay, so who are the Edomites then? What nation of people are red all over like a hairy garment? And hairy. Remember the goats here on Rebecca took goats here and put it on the arms and the smooth of the neck of Jacob. What nation is the most hairiest nation? See, a lot of y'all Edomites are called Harry. You ever ran into a Jake named Harry? Only Edomites are called Harrys because they're hairy. Yeah, I had to throw it in there. I saw it. I had to throw it in there. Me and my corny jokes. But anyway, they're hairy and they're red, like this guy. See, this guy got a tint to him. He's more of a greenish. This guy is straight up red. I mean, that's an Edomite right there for sure. But now, could he possibly be a Jake or another nation? Yeah. If his father's father had Israel blood on him on his father's line, then he can very well be an Israelite. But we're gonna deem him to be an Edomite. These two are Edomites until it's proven otherwise. So let's listen on. Let's listen on. Let's listen on. The question is, when was it fulfilled? In order for it to be fulfilled, you would have to have the two kingdoms come back together. No record of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom coming back anywhere in history. They're coming back now. And you know that, vocab.
They have not proved or shown the people who are descended from Europeans are actually Edomites. So I just want to point that out to them. It's kind of bizarre to think that they think you basically have a European living in the Transjordan area. Doing it. It's strange to me that they think that was the case. You got a bunch of white just south of Israel.
How did white folk get there? So wait a minute. Vocab. So I guess it's vocab believes that the people in that area of Jordan, that the Levant are all dark. We all know that they're all dark-skinned people, different shades of brown. So how did white people get? Well, the reason why white people, so-called, got there is because you have a thing called leprosy. Did not Miriam turn lepers white as snow? When you read the law, the Torah, it speaks about two forms of leprosy: an unclean leopard and a clean leopard. Esau is a race of clean leopards. You have two dark-skinned black Negroes get together, man and woman. They have a child. They have a bunch of children. One of them or two of them might come out looking like the white man. That's called albino. Now you can live among them and walk among them and shake their hand. They're clean lepers. Well, that's what Esau is. Esau is nothing but an albino. He's a clean leper. That's why I can shake this cracker's hand and I won't get contaminated, neither him. And I actually shook this guy's hand. I didn't get no diseases on me. They're clean lepers. He's got a darker hue because of his mother. So that's how Europe. When you say Europe, how did Europe? First of all, Europe was inhabited by the sons of Japhet, which were dark people. And Europe was named after Europa, a black woman that Zeus came down in the form of a white bull, came down. She jumped on the back of Zeus in the form of a bull, and he carried her away and popped her, which is Greek mythology.
They've got a lot of money, but they don't think about how strange it would be to say, yeah, there's all these white people down there. And that's definitely not the case.
Clean lepers. They were looking like Europeans. They were looking like lepers. They were the first came out red all over the first came out red. Let me open this up. The first came out red. What color is this guy? He's red. He's not white. And sometimes you might say white. Actually, they're pale white. But what makes them red is the blood, because their skin is translucent, meaning light goes through. They're not transparent, because you will see the veins and everything, but they're translucent. Light goes through their translucent skin, and what do you see? What's under that skin? If you cut them, what's going to come out? Blood, red blood. So that's what you see. You see like a layer under the layers of skin. You got that blood there. That's why he's an Edomite. He is an Edomite. You're an Edomite too. And just because your mother's a Siciliano, that don't mean you're gonna make it. You better hope that your father, and there was a lot of Israelites that took over Germany, so you better hope that your father's father was a Jake. You better pray hard. Boy, you're gonna be the happiest soul in the kingdom if you realize that you're a Jake. I'm betting that you're not. You're gonna be out there in the field. But if you make it and you ultimately a Jake, hey, good for you. Good for you. But you're gonna apologize.
Experience. You never heard that did anything with any substance to put white people in class.
I'm doing it right now, Cracker.
I would say this, their best, lack of a better word, or phrase, their best argument will be when they point out, not all of them know this, but they'll point out, which is somewhat true, where you have rabbis later on identifying the Roman Empire as sort of a modern day Edom.
Oh, so he just said it, and I guarantee he got it from me. So he read the same information I went through. He said you have Jews, meaning white Jews, European Jews, that claim that the Romans of the Roman Empire, pagan Roman Empire, white people descended from the Edomites, because the Edomites had to go somewhere. They didn't kill all of them. Why didn't they kill all of them? Because the Most High wanted to preserve them, because they're in power right now. When you go back to Deuteronomy, the 2nd chapter, and Israel passing by, the Most High said they're going to be afraid of you. Don't meddle with them. Don't do nothing with them. Why did the Most High say that? Why didn't the Most High say, we'll kill all the Edomites? Because the Most High was using them for this current time. They're gonna be the rulers, and they're at their end. Okay, Esau, you're at your end.
So that really happened, and the reason is pretty clear. It's a way for these Jews at that time to say, you know, you're going to suffer the same fate. You're like these nations. And there's a couple of instances where you could read some of the things that Rabbi said.
In the book of Luke, it's in either Luke 20. Let me do this. Let me do this. It's either Luke 21 or Luke 19 or Luke 20. Let's go to Luke 21. Luke 21. I'm sorry. Luke 21. Then. VEN. '21. Then let them which are, I gotta go up. Let me see. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, of Roman armies, all scholars agree with that, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Bear me for a minute. The desolation is the abomination that maketh desolate, which are the Romans. All scholars, biblical scholars, agree with that. Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. That was 70 AD. Then let them which are in Judea, and folk have said that the Romans call them Judeans. I don't care if you're Benjamin, Levi, they're all Judeans, people of Judah. Flee to the mountains. Some went to Europe, some went to the interiors of Africa, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein. Like if you outside of Israel when this happens, don't come into Israel, don't come into Jerusalem. But these are the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Wait a minute. Let's deal with the word vengeance. So it was a prophecy that they were supposed to take us down. Look up the word vengeance. A revenging, vengeance, punishment. Revengeance or vengeance is if somebody kills the kung fu movies. A guy goes out to kill this clan because they killed his brother, his older brother or his father, right? It's so it's justified that he kills this master, right? So vengeance or revenging is talking about I'm going to get you back for something that you did to me in the past. These are the days of vengeance. What did we do to the Romans that the Romans had to get us back? Well, we didn't do anything to them when they were Romans. We enslaved them when they were Edomites. So the elite among Romans, the Romans, the Senate and so forth, and the Caesars, they had to know that they were Edomites. So now let's go to Ezekiel 25 and 12. Now watch this. It says Edom, right? Thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance. When did the vengeance come upon us? In Luke 21. And have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. When did that come to pass? As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do right here? Let me go back to Luke. Okay, Luke 21:22. Because what did we do to the Romans that they're getting back at us? If somebody pulls a gun out on you, robs you, and you find out who actually did it, you're going to look out to fuck his whole world up. Ultimately, you may want to kill his ass. Let a nigga in the hood get jumped and let that motherfucker know, find out who did it. They looking to kill that motherfucker. That's vengeance. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go here. Commentary. Commentary. I always go to the Bible Hub. Let's see what they have to say. Let's see what they have to say. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me do this. Okay, let's go to James Fawcett Brown Bible Commentary 2021, which is Luke 20, 20, 21, 20 and 21 verses. By armies, encamped armies, that is besieged, the abomination, desolation, the abomination of desolation. And what would the Christians say? The abomination of desolation is the Antichrist. Wait a minute. What the hell happened? It was his Jameson. 21st and 21st verse. By armies in camp, armies, that is, besieged the abomination of desolation, meaning the Roman ensigns as the symbol of an idolatrous, pagan, unclean power. This is what Edomites are saying. They're saying that the Romans are an idolatrous, pagan, unclean power, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, Daniel 9 verse 27, which has nothing to do with the Antichrist, standing where it ought not, which is in the temple. They raided the temple. They raided the treasury. Mark 13:14. Whoso readeth that prophecy, let him understand. Then flee Eusebius, as the Christians fled to Pella at the north extremity of Peoria, whatever, being prophetically directed, perhaps by some prophetic intimation still more explicit than this, which still would be their chart. Now it doesn't go into these are the days of vengeance. They got vengeance because of what we did to them when they were Edomites. It says it right here, Eliot commentary. These be the days of vengeance. The words answer to the great tribulation. Saint Matthew and Saint Mark seem, as indeed does Saint Luke with 21st verse, report of the discourse throughout to be of the nature of the paraphrase. The word vengeance may have been chosen on the view in an elusive reference to the teaching of Luke 18, 7 and 8. It may be, because they don't know, noted as one which, though not exclusively used by them is yet characteristic both of St. Luke and St. Paul. Mentioned the book of Romans, Romans 12 and 19. The reference to the things which are or better have been written is particular to St. Luke. They're going around in circles with that circumlocution. That's what they call it. The vengeance that the Romans got on the Israelites is what they did to them during the time of King David and King Solomon. That's what that's talking about. So let's come over here. And I'm going to get ready to close it. Bear me for a minute.
It's almost like, well, are they saying they're blood related? By and large, seems to be some kind of symbolic code to say that no, let's just say that was true. Let's just say that somehow we have evidence that Edomites transported over to Italy and then ran Rome or something. And that still wouldn't be all Europeans. If that was the case, you know, we got Rome and Rome specifically was in some way identified as Edomites and blood ties.
Boy, you telling the truth, son. You telling the truth. You started, and you mentioned that. You mentioned that Jewish historians, certain Jewish historians teach that. I can go to it. Teach that. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me stop playing around. Let me start playing games here. Let me go here. Let me do this. Google. Did the Roman Empire stem from Edom? Esau, the ancestor of Rome. The Torah.com. This is not me. These are so-called Jews. Esau, the ancestor of Rome. And the biblical Esau is the ancestor of the Edomites who live on Mount Seir, south of Judah. So how did the rabbis come to associate Esau and Edom with Rome? Two main factors are at work here: Christianity and Herod. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Esau and Jacob. Okay, let me go right here. See what this says. Edom and Rome. The basic scratch off of the basic sketch of the relationship between the polities of Israel, Judah, Judea, Edom, Idumea during the biblical and Second Temple periods indicates that indicates that Edom, a polity that ruled from Mount Seir area, from Wadi al-Hassa, southeast of the Dead Sea, in the modern day Jordan, and southward, eventually extended westward to Ashkelon and Mediterranean coast, and northward up to Hebron. That was one of the cities of Edom, and the Second Temple period. That was after the Babylonian Empire. And yet rabbinic Midrash associate Esau and Edom with a completely different geographical area. the city of Rome in the Italian peninsula, and speaks of its Romans are all Edomites. These are small hats saying that. So we say, oh, you're always speaking against the small hats, the so-called Jews. No, we with the so-called Jews on this one. Us and the small hats are cool right about now. How did this develop? I believe that the two main factors were at work here: Christianity and Herod. I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna move on. It says, to understand the development of this rabbinical interpretation of Esau and Edom, we need to look at parallel process of allegorizing Esau, which begins with the Jewish Christ believing homoletistic Paul of Tarshish. So that goes into history, right? But that's what they said. It says the Torah. It's called the Torah, thetorah.com. Esau, the ancestor of Rome. This is not out. We didn't put this together. Written by Dr. Malka Z. Simkovic. Esau, the ancestor of Rome. And then vocab helped me out by saying it. You go back, pull it. This is only 10-minute long video. So let's listen to a little bit more.
They have that all, think about it, you have all the people even in the Transjordan area, and then populating all of Europe. It was not a very big area. It's part of southern Israel and part of modern day Jordan. Really strange thought to think that. And a lot of these people, if that was the case, then Hebrew Israelites that believe they're Hebrew Israelites, they would have to be much closer genetically related to Europeans. Because remember, we're talking about Jacob and Esau. There's about 10 of those people. So turn aside the haplogroup. Shouldn't it be the same? Because they're twins.
This man is a snake in the garden, man, in Genesis 3. Basically, he's saying Jacob and Esau is the same. We're Israelites / Edomites. We're all the same. We got the same blood. We're the same people. So Esau and Edom will be sharing the kingdom based on what he said. I'm just interpreting what he said. Did you hear what the guy said? This guy's all over the place with this madness. Let me let you hear that again, and I'm going to close it. By the way, the IUIC, they would have never rolled up on my main man vocab because they scared to death of vocab. When vocab roll up, they roll out. You got that, Paul Kersey? If y'all went to the Barclays Center, right? If vocab would have rolled up on y'all with his motley crew, y'all would have, okay, close it up. Y'all would have stopped the cadence and all that because you scared to death of vocab because you know vocab is the serpent in the garden. Paul Kersey. All right? You run scared when this man roll up on you, man, because you're not spiritually equipped to deal with vocab. Let's listen to a little bit more. Vocab, he's a real serpent. He said, yeah, really, Israelites and Edomites are the same thing. It's the same thing. If you're an Edomite, you're really an Israelite. If you're an Israelite, you're really an Edomite. That's what the guy, it says in Genesis 25, 2 nations shall be separated from thy bow, and 2 different types of people, 2 manner of people. So there's 2 spirits in you. That's what Romans, the 9th chapter, is all about. Can't get around that.
Then Hebrew Israelites, that believe they're Hebrew Israelites, they would have to be much closer genetically related to Europeans. Because remember, you're talking about Jacob and Esau. Turn aside the haplogroup. Shouldn't it be the same with twins? What if not the there's a lot of problems with that. But I would say that's probably the strongest argument they use. I mean, they use actually in association with Edom. And you'll actually say, well, the United States symbol of Edom, ignoring the fact that lots of powerful nations have used the eagle, including football teams like Philadelphia. So it's insane. It's insane.
Philadelphia Eagles are owned by Edomites. Aha. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.